الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير حج محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر أمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته يا أيها الأحبة في الله. Brothers and sisters, inshallah ta'ala, today's talk is just a brief reminder for myself first and foremost, and hopefully it's a reminder for you all. We titled this talk, bi'ithnillah, or this reminder rather, because it's not a class, but we titled this reminder, We Are Ants in Comparisons to Elephants. And inshallah ta'ala, as we go into our comparisons and relations to the Salaf and their dedication and their approach and their determination, their sincerity and their methodology, and acquiring knowledge and learning and implementing and teaching and educating, we would see that when we compare our efforts to their efforts, we would see that we really are ants in comparison to them. So I wanted to begin with just a small reminders. These will be random. I wouldn't do them, inshallah ta'ala, in order, in terms of like, they're not going to be back to back, but they will be random. And today we're going to focus on one of the things in regards to the first thing that should be very, very the important thing, the most important thing when you embark upon learning knowledge. And I wanted to take this time to explain this. Al-Hasan al-Basri, rahimahullah, you can say radiyallahu anhu as well, the great tabi'i, he gave a definition, as Sheikh Muhammad Sa'id Raslan, hafidhahullah, he breaks down in a talk that he gave to Hasan al-Basri. He explained the difference between what we call a alim wa muta'allim wa ami. And he gave a definition for each. He says about the scholar and what is a scholar and who's considered to be a scholar. And then he breaks down what is a talib or ilm. What is an aspirant, someone who seeks knowledge? What is that? Who is a talib or ilm? And he defined that and defined what is a ami, what is a lay person. And when you go back and review the definition that Al-Hasan al-Basri came up with, which is interestingly enough, you will see that this statement of his is in alignment with a lot of the companions with one Allah Ta'ala alayhim, as well as a lot of the earlier Salaf, and even he was a tabi'i, watba'u tabi'i. You will see that their approach to knowledge was a little different. And that is because now talib or ilm is a word that is used very loosely. And it is something that is applied or has been given to people just loose term. And it's like a profession, so to speak, in the sense that people use it as a badge of honor. And yes, it is a badge of honor for those who are truly seeking ilm. They don't wear it as a badge of honor, but they understand that talib or ilm is something that is important. But nowadays, we give anybody the title tulab or ilm. This person is a student of knowledge. That person is a student of knowledge. That person is a student of knowledge. And we don't take in consideration what is a talib or ilm? What is a student of knowledge? And what is talib or ilm? Okay, the ulama, they explained that the hadith of An-Nu'man ibn Bashir, Abu Abdullah, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, that he mentioned that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, talib wa ilm faridatun ala kulli Muslim. And he says that in this hadith, he said that talib wa ilm, seeking knowledge, it comes with this wording, talib wa ilm, is farida. Here farida means obligation. upon every Muslim. Here, talib wa ilm, here is the ulama, they differ in concern to what is the meaning of talib wa ilm in this hadith. So some of them say that talib wa ilm is that which is faru ayn, that which is an individual obligation for everyone to learn. All of those things, such as the 5 pillars, the 6 articles, etc., ihsan, all of these things you must learn. So they say that's what you start with, alham. That's the first thing you start with, those things that it's obligatory for you to know. And then some say no, it's those things that are subsidiary, the subsidiary branches, things that are not the primary tools, but those things which are that you can learn, inshallah ta'ala, in depth or more, that is considered a side branch. Tayyib. So, talib wa ilm, seeking knowledge, Al-Hasan al-Basri defined as an individual who seeks knowledge from the moment he wakes up from Fajr to the moment he goes to bed. He spends his life in dedication of ilm. He's reviewing, he's memorizing, he's listening, he's reading, he's writing, he's teaching, he's educating. This is the talib wa ilm. And I want you to understand something here different. Don't think for 1 second that the ulama, the alim, is different from the talib wa ilm. And I think people here in the West, we got a big misconception of that. We say tulab and we say ulama. Every alim is a talib wa ilm fil haqiq. In reality, you must understand this. Every scholar is a talib wa ilm, and they don't cease to be a talib wa ilm. Just because you've reached the manzala of being a scholar doesn't mean that you stop being a talib wa ilm. Because a scholar doesn't stop seeking knowledge. They're going to seek knowledge, as Imam Ahmed so eloquently put it, from the mihbara to ila mikbara, from the ink pot to the grave. They're going to seek knowledge until the day they meet Allah Azza wa Jal. So they don't cease from being tulab wa ilm. Alright? That's a misconception. Every scholar that is a bona fide scholar is recognized by his peers that he's a scholar. That person or that scholar will seek knowledge until the day he or she passes away. They don't stop being a talib wa ilm. That's a misconception in the West. Another misconception here in the West is that we separate callers, du'at, from ulama. That's a big mistake. There's no du'at, they are callers, but every alim again is a talib wa ilm. It doesn't cease to be one, and every alim is a from the du'at. They are callers to Allah Azza wa Jal. Don't confuse this. Every scholar is a caller to Allah Azza wa Jal. It's not that we have in our mind this list that's going around. These are the people we take from. These are the people that we learn from. These are the people that are callers. These are people that are this. These are people that are tulab. These are people that are scholars. Get that out of your mind. Every alim is a talib wa ilm continuously. Every alim is a caller to Allah continuously. That doesn't stop. Now, as far as a talib wa ilm in the definition of Hasan al-Basri, how many of us, and this is where I'm getting ready to go at what I taught, how many of us who take on this title, talib wa ilm, how many of us honestly fulfilling this role? Are we constantly engaging knowledge? Are we learning it? Are we memorizing it? Are we reviewing it? Are we constantly going over it? Are we educating it? What have we done? What have we accomplished? Now we're going to go to the first thing. The first thing upon any talib, any student, أولاً بحفظ الكتاب الله عز وجل. I want you to understand this. This is not my statement. It's the statement of the ulama from the salaf, meaning from the companions on down. I want you to pay attention. The first and the very first thing that the student of knowledge should begin with and embarked upon, which is the memorization, the preservation of the Book of Allah. Number one, you are deficient in your talaba. Here, I'm not lying, I'm not exaggerating. This is how the ulama explains it. You are deficient in your talaba, in your seeking of knowledge, if you are weak in the Book of Allah. If you are weak in the Book of Allah, you are weak in the Book of Allah, you have become deficient. So now, let's go back here. We are ants in comparison to elephants, meaning we should humble ourselves because we know how deficient we are with the Book of Allah. We know how deficient we are. It's 30 parts to the Book of Allah Azza wa Jal. If we don't have the Book of Allah like Al-Fatiha from the beginning to the end, we know that. And then that's just one level, because it's different marahil to the book of Allah. So now you have just the memorization. That's memorizing the words. That's just one level. And that has sub-branches. And then you have what we call fahm. And then fahm is divided into two. Then you have that which is known as tafsirul laft wa tafsirul ma'na. Understanding the wording, which is the mufradat. Those vocabulary words that comes in the Quran. This is a level of learning about the Quran. Understanding the words that are used. Those words which are foreign in the Arabic language. Because there are words in the Quran that are foreign. Not every word in the Quran is Arabic. But then there are words in that are foreign. And then they have meanings. And then understanding their meanings. Look, it goes deep. And then after that, you have what we call the tafsirul ma'na. What is yuradu bihi al-hadi bihadi al-ayah. What is intended by this verse? What is understood from this verse? Then that has sub branches within it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Then you have a level we call qira'ah, reading the Quran, understanding the different sab'atu ahruf of Quran. And then you have a level. So you see where I'm going at with it? It takes time to be a talib ilm. You don't be a talib ilm because you say, I'm a talib ilm. I'm a student of knowledge. You're not a talib ilm because you read kitab wa kitabain. You're not a talib ilm because you read 2 books. You're not a talib ilm because you sat in this class with this sheikh or you sat in this class with this person. That isn't a talib ilm. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's technical terms. You are on the way. You remain a talib ilm until you meet Allah Azza wa Jal, because you have not have itqan of the masail of the actual book of Allah Azza wa Jal. You have to have itqan. Itqan, they call it proficiency. Master. Okay, you must master it. This is levels. And when we know that we are deficient like this, what's going to do what it should do? And this is what knowledge mandates. And if you don't know this, you'll know this from the Prophet ﷺ and his companions. Knowledge mandates that you tawadi', that you humble yourself. That's what knowledge mandates. This is why they look at the character of an individual more so than they look at what he says. They don't look at the ilm of a person, they look at the character. Because if you look at the character, it's a testification of the ilm. So if a person is telling you, I am a talib ilm, I am this caller, I am this da'i, I am this. Now let's look at their humbleness. How humble are they? And when you realize you are deficient in the book of Allah, then you will understand this. Allah Azza wa Jalla says in the Quran, it says, بَلْ هُوَ آيَاتٌ بَيِّنَاتٌ في صدور الذين أوتوا العلم. في Surah Ankabut, the 29th surah of the Quran, Al-Ayah, Allah Azza wa Jal says, rather, huwa ayatun bayyinatun. It is clear evidence verses in the heart or the breast of those who are given ilm. Okay? Those who have been given ilm, they're going to recognize ayatul bayyinat, meaning they are going to preserve those ayatul bayyinat. They are going to memorize the book of Allah Azza wa Jal, because given knowledge, the knowledge or the source of the knowledge comes here. It starts from the book of Allah. Qala Maymuni, he says, Sa'awtu Abi Abdullah, yani Imam Ahmed. He said, I asked the father of Abdullah, meaning Imam Ahmed, أيما أحب إليك أبدأ بني بالقرآن أو بالحديث. He said, I asked him, which is more preferable, or which that you like, or which you prefer, or more beloved to you, that I begin my son with learning the Quran or learning the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Imam Ahmed, he said, La bil Quran. Teach him the Quran first. He says, Kultu, so I said to him, Alimahu kullahu. Should I teach him the entire Quran? Meaning have him memorize the entire book. Go over the entire book. Right? He says, Illa an ya'sar wa yu'assar. Meaning, in other words, unless it becomes difficult for him to do it. But in other words, affirmative, starting and let him memorize the entire book. Wala shak wala rayb. في طالب وعلم بل هو أعظمها وأجلها حفظ القرآن الكريم. So it should be without no doubt, shadow of doubt, that the first affairs, or the first beginning affairs for every talib wa ilm, is that he or she, and is the most noble and is the most virtuous, that they begin with the memorization and the preservation of the book of Allah Azza wa Jal. وَنَادُرِ إِلَى سِيرُ عُلَمَائِنَا سَابِقِينَ. So let us take a close look into the methodology that was traversed, or the path that was traversed by our previous ulama, walahiqeen, and those who are firm and they stick to that which is correct. يَجِدُ أَنَّهُمْ أَوَّلَ مَا يَهْتَمُونَ بِهِ الْقُرْآنُ الْكَرِيمُ. What we find that what was the utmost importance to them and what they was concerned with first was beginning with the book of Allah. Oh tulab wa ilm, oh you aspiring, oh you seeker of knowledge, the one that wants to say I read Sheikh Al-Albani book, that wants to say I sat in this camp for 6 months, or I sat in this university for this, or I sat here, or I went here. Says stop now. Where are you with the book of Allah Azza wa Jal? You begin talib wa ilm, but you haven't started with the book of Allah. You haven't got itqan with the book of Allah. You don't have istihdar with the book of Allah. If you don't understand these concepts of what I'm saying, I'm going to explain to you. What I mean by itqan, meaning having mastery of the book of Allah. And then there are stages with that. And then when I'm talking about istihdar, this is what you see when the ulama, they talk about any masail or any issue, they be able to bring the verse that associated for the dalil or istidlal for that particular issue. They're able to bring up the verse that's around that particular issue. How can they do this? They got this by taqreer. They do a constantly repeating of the masail, going over different issues. And once they go over different issues, there are different verses and different ahadith that is associated with that issue. Once they understand that qaida, or that from the qawaid, from those principles, then when they go over that issue, no matter whatever masail it is, they're able to bring the verse up. You understand? He says now, this is the first thing they would concern themselves with, is with the foundation, is the book of Allah Azza wa Jal. فَيَحْفَظُونَهُ مُنْذُ نُعُومَ الظُّفَارِهِمْ قَبْلَ بُلُوغٍ ذَلِكَ لِأَنَّهُ أَسَاسُ عُلُومِ قَوَامِهَا وَمِنْهُ أَوَّلًا he said تَسْتَمِدُّ الْأَحْكَامُ وَعَدِّلَّ Allahu Akbar. So you will find that they begin to memorize the book of Allah Azza wa Jal from the beginning, while they are young lads or young pups, as you want to refer to them. Meaning while they are yet, before they reach the age of bulugh, before they reach the age of maturity, before their sins are burdened upon them, when they're responsible for their sins, before they reach that age, they already have the book of Allah. Hifdhan, tamaman, kamilan, awwalan. This is what they have. You find some of the salaf, they wouldn't let a person sit in the gatherings of ahadith. They would not let them listen to the narrations of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu and said, unless they had memorized the book and led the people in prayer with it. SubhanAllah Adeen. Some of the Salaf, they would say that no, he had to go lead the people in Taraweeh. He had to memorize the book of Allah and then lead the people with the book of Allah, and then he can come sit in the circles and learn knowledge. SubhanAllah Adeen. He says, so they begin from this before maturity. And this was the asas. This was the foundations of the ulum, of the sciences. And he said this was those things that was upright. He says, وَمِنْهُ أَوَّلًا تَسْتَمِدُ أَحْكَامُ عَدِلَّةً. And from it, it was the reason how we can rely on the rules and regulations and the proofs and the evidence, which was divided from what? The book of Allah and the Sunnah. So you start with the book of Allah first. ثم بعد ذلك يتدرجون في سلم علوم الشرعية. He said then after that, they begin to excel exceedingly, step by step, stage by stage, in the different sciences of Islam. They didn't start talking about I'm learning Aqidah before learning Quran. They didn't say I'm going to learn Mustalah Hadith before learning Quran. They didn't say I'm over here reading about fiqh, wal usul fiqh before the Quran. They didn't say I'm learning about Lugha before the Quran. La. They begin with the book of Allah. They begin with the book of Allah. Subhanallah Azim. He continues. He says, وقال الحافظ النووي رحمه الله. And before we go in, every one of us know who Imam Nawawi is. But so that you don't know, in the biography of Imam Nawawi, when he was just a child, we're talking about 6, 7 years old. Can you imagine this? I forgot the word they used for this. He did not want to play with the other children his age. He becomes sad when they wanted him to go out and play with the other children of his age. He was not interested in that. He was interested in learning. So he wanted to learn with the judge, or sit with the judge, or sit with this and learn this. This is from this Tarjama. This is from his biography. Go back and read it. This is from his biography, Imam Nawawi rahimahullah. Look what he said. He said, وَأَوَّلَ مَا يُبْتَأُ بِهِ حِفْظُ الْقُرْآنُ عَزِيزٌ فَهُوَ أَهَمُّ عُلُومٍ. He said that the first thing that the student of knowledge should begin with, the first thing which he should begin with, is memorizing the book of Allah, the book that is Al-Aziz, for it is really of the most importance of the sciences. That he begin with the book of Allah, وَكَانَ السَّلَفُ, and he's still continuing now. He said, وَكَانَ السَّلَفُ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ حَدِيثَ وَالْفِقْهَ إِلَّا لِمَنْ حَفِظَ الْقُرْآنِ. He says that the Salaf وَلَا يُعَلِّمُونَ الْحَدِيثَ وَالْفِقْهَ إِلَّا لِمَنْ حَفِظَ الْقُرْآنِ. He said that the Salaf, they did not teach hadith of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, nor fiqh, except to the one who already memorized the book of Allah. This is what they did. You wanted to sit with the scholars back then? It was a prerequisite that you already finished the book of Allah. Now imagine if we take this same formula with people who we call students of knowledge today. Imagine this. Imagine we take the same formula with people we call students of knowledge today. As Sheikh Uthaymeen rahmatullah ta'ala alayhi, he says you find an individual, he's strong with hadith, but he's da'af, he's weak when it comes to the book of Allah Azza wa Jal. He said, la, this right here is not cool. He said, this is a ghalat. He said, rather he should be equal in both. He should be strong in Quran, was strong with hadith. But you find a student strong in hadith and he's weak in the book of Allah Azza wa Jal. And this is why you find that Ibn Kathir, he said that the one who is a hafid Quran, not just the memorization, he's not talking about memorization of his words, that's only. The one who is a hafid of Quran is a mutafaqi, is one who can extract rulings. This is why he say that. Because all of the biographies, when you go back and read about these people, guarantee you're going to read they memorized the Quran at 10. They memorized the Quran when they was young. They memorized the Quran when they was 7. They memorized the Quran when they just... That was adi. That was well known. If you want to see the success of any people or any community, if you want to know their success, just look at the success rate of their Quran. Do their children memorize the book of Allah? Do they themselves memorize the book of Allah? Just look at us. We Salafi, right? Just look at us. Just look at the success. You want to see any success of any society, any success of any Muslims, let's see where the memorizer are at in their community. Who have Quran? How many of us push our children to Quran? They got this talent show. They got that they going to. They got that they going to. Let's take them to Chunky Cheese. Let's take them here. Let's take them there. But not the book of Allah. Not the book of Allah, right? At the best time of their lives, from the age of 7, from the best times of their lives, you're not going to give them the book of Allah? You're going to be that stingy. You're not going to give them the book of Allah. What that tells us, what that shows us. But yet, our Aqidah straight. Right? What that shows us, that you don't even put the best book, the speech of Allah Azza wa Jalla, you don't even put that first. And you talking about your Aqidah straight. Yeah, I know Ibn Taymiyyah, I got the books here, I got the books there. Come on, be real, man. Your Aqidah straight, but you don't give them the book of Allah. Think, man. Look what he said here. He said they wouldn't even learn hadith. They wouldn't even learn fiqh unless they had the book of Allah Azza wa Jalla memorized. He continues. This is Imam Nawawi. قال الشيخ الإسلام ابن تيمية, he says, وأما طلب حفظ القرآن فهو مقدم على كثير مما تسمعه الناس علما وهو إما الباطل أو القليل النفع. He said that as far as the seeking of memorizing the book of Allah, the memorizing the Quran, then it takes precedence. Then it comes before many of the things which people call knowledge, which people have titled this knowledge and this knowledge, then rarely the book of Allah is first. It takes precedence. Memorizing the book of Allah, he says it's either going to be immal batil, this knowledge that they have named is either going to be false and rejected, or it's going to be qalilun nafil. It's only going to have a little bit of benefit in it whatsoever. They didn't start with the book of Allah Azza wa Jal. He says, وَهُوَ أَيْضًا مُقَدِّمًا فَتُعَلَّمُ فِي حَقٍّ مَنْ يُرِيدُ أَنْ يَتَعَلَّمَ عِلْمَ الدِّينَ مِنَ الْأُصُولِ وَالْفُرُوعِ. He says also it must take precedence before one begin to learn in regards to the one who wants to learn any of the science of the deen from the usul, from the fundamentals, or from the subsidiary issues. The person should begin with the book of Allah. I think we need to stress this a lot. You really want to start looking at the talab or ilm, humble yourselves. We are ants, man, compared to elephants. These men have authorships. You look at now, look at the knowledge that we have now. How many of the students of knowledge are working day and night and pitting out books? I'm not talking about a translation of a scholar. These men author books. 60 books. 15 volumes. 6 volumes. Come on, 20 volumes. Just do the math. Ibn al-Qayyim alone. Ibn Taymiyyah alone. Look at the books that they did. Books, volumes of volumes, akhi. The man written a book which is known as, it's called Madarat al-Salikin. If you don't know, Ibn al-Qayyim, he written a book called Madarat al-Salikin. Right? Bayna manazil iyyaka wa na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. It's a 5 or 6 volume book only on this verse. I want you to know this right now. It's a 5 volume, 6 volume book only on the verse in Al-Fatiha, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Allahu Akbar. And it's an explanation. By the way, it wasn't his book originally. It's an explanation to a book that was written by a Sufi pertaining to this ayah. And he called it Madarat al-Salikin. 5 volumes just on that subject. You talking about tadabbur. That's reflection out of this world. Then you talking about Ibn Taymiyyah. He written a book with I'm talking about no paper, no pen, no nothing in front of him. He didn't need anything in front of him. Our knowledge aren't there. We don't have it like that. The man sit there and wrote. They came to him and asked him about some Aqidah points. He written that Aqidah Wasatiyah for between Dhuhr and Asr. Just like that. Just books. If you see the book itself, he had nothing with him. Memorize the book of Allah. Can you piece it together like that? Even if a person memorized the book of Allah, can you piece the ayats, the attributes like that? Asma wa sifat on a being. And here we are talking about we impressed with people because they went overseas and came back. You impressed. Come on, talab al-ilm, man, is real, man. There's no impressing, man. You want to be impressed with anything, man. Let's look at the works of those who came before us, man. They put in work. Work, akhi. Work. Authorships, man. We're ants compared to elephants. He says, فَإِنَّ مَشْرُوعًا في حق المثل هذا في هذه أوقات أن يبدأ بحفظ القرآن فإنه أصل علوم الدين. Look what he says here. He says, rather it is legislated. It is legislated, not meaning in the sense that it's obligatory that you memorize the Quran. I don't want no one to get confused from this. But if you want to be a talib or ilm, you're going to memorize the book of Allah. Notice the difference. It's not obligatory far as there's a sin on you if you don't memorize the book of Allah. That's not what he's saying. But if you want to be a talib or ilm, look at the difference now. You memorize the book of Allah. If you want to be an alim, you memorize the book of Allah. If you want to take knowledge as your profession, you memorize the book of Allah. Not if you a layman, you just want to, alhamdulillah, there's no problem with that. It's not a sin on you. But if you saying you want to step in the arena of dawah, you want to step in the arena of knowledge, you want to step in the arena of being this is your profession, then you take it. We're so loose with our tongues nowadays, subhanAllah azim. We call anybody sheikh. So sheikh so-and-so. Sheikh so like, come on, man. This is it's an insult. Sheikh Uthaymeen was talking about how you find the youth calling someone, because sheikh have meanings in Islam. Sheikh have a meaning linguistically. It's talking about either an elder person or it's talking about someone who is dhul ilm, but endowed, who have endowed or who have knowledge. Do you understand? So it's levels. And you call so-and-so sheikh, he's 14 years old, you talking about sheikh. You call so-and-so sheikh, he only what? Actually, if you, let's do it in baby years, so you can understand what I'm saying. A person might be 3 months in this talibah as a baby. He's a newborn, right? 3 months in this talibah, and you talking about he's a sheikh. Oh yeah, that's sheikh so-and-so. Why? Because he's shutting Sheikh Fawzan class. But he haven't finished any science. He haven't completed one science. He don't have itqan in one science, but he's a sheikh. And you feel comfortable calling him a sheikh. You know why? Because y'all both are deluded. You're deluded and he's deluded. You're deluded in the simple fact that because you are impressed with what little bit of ilm that he has, which is not even ilm, it's just information. You're impressed with that. And then at the same time, he's impressed with himself and he don't really have nothing. Humble, tawadi'. We are ants, man. Ibn Taymiyyah, he was sitting down as Ibn Qayyim, he says that when he finished the Salat al-Fajr, he said that after he finished Salat al-Fajr, he started to do his tasbih, he started to do his dhikr. And he said it came up almost to the time of Dhuhr, that he was dhikring, almost up to the time of Dhuhr. He's constantly dhikring, he's still dhikring. And when he got done, he said to Ibn Qayyim, he said that this, I cannot get my day started. This is my breakfast. This is my morning meal. Adhkar wa riyadhu billah. He said, this is my morning meal. I just had eggs. You know, you can steak and eggs. Come on, we playing with Talib al-Ilm. Now go back to what Al-Hasan al-Basri said about a student of knowledge. Let's go back to his statement. He said that one who starts from Fajr until he goes to bed, he's either listening, reviewing, going over, teaching, educating, knowledge. This is why they were judges at the age of 18. This is why they was judges at the age of 17. This is why Imam Bukhari at the age of 18, when they testing with the ahadith, this is why he already had so many ahadiths memorized. When they gave him 100 hadiths with different isnads and different this, he can do that. Man, you cannot do that. Sheikh Salah Ali Sheikh, he said the good student memorized 40, even now we 40 hadith in 3 days. Man, it took me 2 weeks. It takes many people more than that to memorize 42 hadiths. Man, come on. We're da'if. But yet and still, we want to be called Sheikh. We want to be called Talib al-Ilm. We want to be called Du'a. This is what we want to be called. No, I want to be called Nafis. That's what I want to be called. I don't want to be called anything else. I don't have that profession. I'm an ant, man. I'm not an elephant, man. These men have put in work that we have not seen the likes of. Do you understand? So he says, when he mentioned this part at the end, he says, so it is legislated that in regards, the likes of this, in regards to these times, is that a person should begin with starting with the book of Allah, awwalan. فَإِنَّهُ أَصْلٌ عُلُومُ الدِّينِ. And we're getting ready to stop here. So he says, for really the Quran, it is from the fundamentals of the science of the deen. It is from the fundamentals of the science of the deen. And that's what we want to start with. And inshallah, like we said, we're going to make these videos a little bit random. But we're going to go down the list from what the Salaf started with when seeking ilm. And we're going to compare it with ourselves. And we're going to take that light. And we're going to really be honest with ourselves. Do you feel as though you are talib al-ilm? Do you feel as though you're really seeking knowledge? And if that's the case, then how can you fix your face to worry about rudud? Rudud, as Sheikh Al-Albani says, all people worry about rudud. Now you Ibn Taymiyyah, rudud. Ibn Taymiyyah had knowledge when he was doing rud. I don't think any people understand that. When he was doing refutations, there was knowledge-based refutations. Do you understand that? You know what a raddul ilmi is? When you refute someone with knowledge, not by association. He didn't make someone guilty because so-and-so was standing next to so-and-so. Or so-and-so did frequent so-and-so. He didn't make you guilty of that. It had to be understood that the person was actually in alignment with that. He made sure that you are in line with that you either hold the belief or you associated with the belief in terms of that you were encouraging it, that you were pushing it, that you understood it. So then he refuted you in that science and he brought the dalil and then he took your dalil and he presented that and then he knocked it down 17 points, 18 points, 25 points, 45 points that he breaks down just the weakness of the validity of your dalil. And then after he do that, then he brings the reason why. This is knowledge-based refutation. Not so-and-so don't go to here, so-and-so don't take from this scholar, so-and-so don't take from that. And if all we keep doing is a big distraction, man, wake up, people. Wake up. The angel of death is coming. Wake up. If all you're going to sit around all day on these websites and on these social medias, all you can post, that's all I see. When I see people posting nothing but rudud, I stay away from you. I don't care who you are, what side you on. If I see that you just keep posting rudud, I know that you have little knowledge. The Salaf don't do that. You have little knowledge. We don't need to big ourselves up because we refute people. We refute them and keep it moving. That's what we do. We refute people. We make sure that the haqq is known and we keep it moving. I don't have to follow you. I don't have to troll you. I don't have to make sure so-and-so know you. I don't have to do all of that. If it's refuted, it's done. I leave. Ishtighal bil ilm. This is what the ulama teaches us. And this is a person that's learning. So when you sit down with a person, all they do is rudud, guarantee you when they start mentioning the kaba'ir or the akabir, ask them what they mention. So when they start mentioning who they men is, ask them who they men is. I guarantee they start saying people who are in even talib or ilm, and I'm not taking shots at nobody, I'm just being real. They're going to start mentioning, oh, so-and-so, so-and-so. All right, that's your scholar, right? And that's their scholar. No, that's your scholar. Because that's what it is. If you was talking about real people from the Salaf, name me one time they behaved like that. Name me one time. And if you want to talk about Imam Ahmed refuting somebody, what level of pedigree Imam Ahmed was? He had 1 million hadith he memorized. Along with the Book of Allah, by the way. Along with the Book of Allah. He had 1 million hadith memorized, man. You want to talk about Imam Ahmed? You want to talk about this person, that person? They had something in them. You don't have nothing. You barely got Aleph Bad Ta, and you're not even saying that correctly. So then, yet alone, you want to tell me about Mufti Meek. You want to beat me in my head about Mufti Meek. Whether I agree with you or not, whether Mufti Meek is Salafi or not, I understand. Whether I listen to what the ulama said about him and this and that, I understand. But I don't need you beat me in the head with it. I don't need you keep coming to me beating me in the head with it. I don't need it. I don't need you following Yasser Qadhi around beating me in the head with that. I don't need that. If you even know your deen or you don't know your deen. And if you know your deen and you know to stay clear of this person, then stay clear of them. And stick with the people that you know. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not making no problem like that. But don't beat me in the head. Because when I come back at you and ask you about ilm, Aki, where are you at in the Book of Allah? Do you got 5 ijazahs? Do you got 15 ijazahs? Do you got 7 ijazahs? Can you tell me the 28th or the 26th? What is the 16th juz in the Quran? Can you tell me what Allah Azza wa Jal said? I guarantee you shut up. You can't talk no more. You can't do it, right? Come on, man. And if you think I'm tripping when I say this, you got to read the works of Sheikh Al-Albani when he made the statement about a lot of people are engaging, especially from the youth, and refuting their refutations. And he said you find that really none of them cannot even recite a verse properly. And he said you find that they engage themselves, after they read a book or two, that they engage themselves in refutations and they can't even read properly the Book of Allah Azza wa Jal. This is not the way of seeking knowledge. Whatever we said that was incorrect is definitely from ourselves and the shaitan. Whatever we said is correct is from Allah Jalla wa Ala. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Jazakallah khair.